the goal wasn't about money and the goal wasn't about anything else but legacy. And I felt like, with all due respect, you don't necessarily create a legacy working as an agent under somebody else. You create a legacy by elevating your name.
You're listening to Elevate, the official podcast of Elite Agent for real estate industry sales professionals, property managers and leaders. With thanks to our partner Connect Now, Elevate brings you the best tools, thinking and strategies to elevate your results. To get access to all of Elite Agent's premium resources, including a detailed episode guide for this podcast, visit joineliteagent.com. And for more information about how Connect Now can make moving easier on your clients, visit connectnow.com.au. Here is your host, Samantha McLean.
Welcome to another episode of the Elevate podcast, where we delve into some of the most interesting minds in business and in real estate for the very best tips and strategies for you to implement to elevate your business. I'm Samantha McLean, editor of Elite Agent and host of today's show. I've got two guests today, Dan Argent and Clinton Eastell from UrbanX. So Dan and Clinton, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Samantha.
So we're here to talk about the pros and cons of working for yourself, which we all know has its ups and downs. And Clinton, you joined UrbanX about a year ago. So I first of all want to know, how did you first get into real estate?
To be honest, I kind of fell into it. I remember I was laying in the living room one day and I saw on Channel 7 the block, or Channel 9, sorry, the block. And I saw Damien Cooley up there with his suit and tie on. And
that tie.
Yeah, it's that tie. So I thought, you know what, hey, I'd love to get around in a suit and tie every day. At that point in time, I wasn't living on the Sunshine Coast and didn't realise that it's scorching hot on the Sunshine Coast. So no suits and ties these days. But sort of fell into it a little bit. I really fell into it. I have a mate of mine that works for another agency on the Gold Coast, and I'd always seen his Instagram and see how much he changed his life, and I thought, you know what, why not have a go at it?
How did you come to meet Dan?
It's actually it's like a little garden path, to be honest. So I know the guys at X Media. They did a few videos for us, which then they teamed up with the guys over at Grayer, which then obviously, as everyone knows, Ben Wakely sells a few things for Grayer. And I saw on Facebook that Ben Wakely had left Urban Property Group and started his own business. But then, I saw a photo on Facebook that had Dan next to him, which Dan was kind of his business partner. I'm kind of sitting there thinking, that is extremely interesting. A guy that's just left his agency and Dan's sitting there with his arm around him saying, well done. So it was kind of fell into it. And then I just literally picked up the phone and said, hey, can you tell me what this is about? And, the rest is history.
Yeah, interesting. So X Media, they're the same people that Gavin Rubinstein uses, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I first started working with those guys when they were Apollo Media.
Yeah.
I actually know them. We come from the same town in Queensland, so we sort of knew each other, and yeah.
Small world, hey?
Small world.
Obviously, when you started in real estate, you started working for someone else. Is that right?
Yep. So I actually started my career in a place called Remax in Toowoomba. I think I worked there for about 4 weeks. And then I left there because I was moving to the Sunshine Coast and worked alongside an incredible lady named Jodie Price at Ray White. I worked for her for 4 months, and obviously me being a lot younger, I didn't really understand and appreciate what was there on offer at that point in time, and made the decision to leave there and stayed in the Ray White group and learnt a lot and have a lot of respect for a lot of people in that group. But obviously, as you evolve, you learn things. And I left Ray White to then move to McGrath, who showed me a lot as well. I worked for some incredible people and with some incredible people in that environment, and then I just sort of the natural progression. I always sort of felt like I want to do something for myself, and we found after talking with Dan, we just felt like he was the best pathway to allow us to achieve our goal.
Yeah, interesting. So at some point there along, you worked for a number of businesses, but then at some point you decided that you wanted to go into business for yourself. What was the catalyst for that?
I always wanted to. So it was weird because the first day that I got into real estate and the day that I decided I wanted to try real estate was, I knew that the goal wasn't about money and the goal wasn't about anything else but legacy. And I felt like, with all due respect, you don't necessarily create a legacy working as an agent under somebody else. You create a legacy by elevating your name, which, like you look at the biggest names in the industry, your Ray Whites and your McGraths of the industry. And that's what sort of pushed me towards, Eastell and Co. It's my family's name, and, it's something that we can leave as a legacy in our community.
Was it scary at all? Because I know, look, I've started a business myself, and, I at the time I felt like it was like building jumping off a cliff and then building the aircraft on the way down a little bit. What actually made you step into it?
To be fair, I actually didn't give it enough thought to be scared. I know it was very different, and I know Dan and I actually, I remember I rang Dan and I spoke to him for about an hour, and he could obviously feel my frustration through my phone call. And, the moment I met him, we sat for about an hour and a half and spoke about a lot of things, and that sort of alleviated all my concern. But I really didn't have I wasn't kind of scared. I was nervous because obviously, we didn't have a lot of money at that point in time. Starting an agency, you think like for me, the biggest thing for me was I thought I needed $100,000 in the bank to start an agency. When realistically, I think we did it with about 7,000, and that was still probably more than we needed. So I wasn't scared necessarily. I think that for me, I just went down the mindset of, if it fails, you're 27 or you're 26 years old. If it fails,
next,
like rebuild it.
Yeah.
And I know it's cliche, like you hear of, the biggest thing for me is Michael Jordan. You go, your biggest success is the first failure. And like we're lucky enough to not have not failed as of yet, and touch wood we don't, but we haven't failed just yet. And it's refreshing to say, because we launched our business on the 2nd of March 2020, and then a little cousin came over and named COVID, and that sort of sent shockwaves through. And like we were all guns blazing, and we got through 8 weeks of turmoil, and then that extended, and we just saw opportunity to build on the back of that.
And Dan, what was the conversation with Clinton like from your end? Like, what were some of the things that you said to him to let him know that moving forward in his own business was a good move?
Yeah, Samantha, that's a great question. I think when Clinton first rang me, and I remember it well, and I remember our first meeting very well. Something that Clinton said I really resonate with. My first day in real estate, I always knew I wanted to work for myself. I was exactly the same. My very first boss that I worked for 7 years, said write down a list of goals when I first started, and one of those was to work for myself. So, that kind of, I don't know, that's like a psyche, I think. Some people want to, some people don't. There's nothing wrong with either path that people want to take in life. But the people that do want to, just feel a level of frustration working within the constraints of someone else's business. They want to leave their own legacy. They'd like their name on the door. There's numerous aspects to working for yourself. And so I really just understood where Clinton was coming from. And it was abundantly clear, how he felt. I resonated with that because I'd felt the same thing before doing my own thing. And so it was just a real pleasure and honor to be able to work with him and his now fiance Ash on this journey.
Yeah, interesting. And so you made the decision to go into business for yourself with UrbanX. Was there, what did that look like in the beginning? Like, we always tell everyone the story about how we started the magazine in the laundry. Yep. It was a laundry. But yeah. What were the first few days or weeks like for you?
To be honest, like I think, I remember I spoke to Dan, I think it was in September 2019 or October 2019. And then our first meeting was on the 13th of December 2019. And, I'd been approached by a few big agencies, a few big franchises over, the previous 3 years. And I just never felt that aura to do it. And then I remember meeting with Dan on the 13th of December, and like I said to Ash, my fiance was sitting next to me, and I said to her, I'd never felt more comfortable in knowing that whatever happened, I've got the support around me. And I think that was a big thing. Like that, Ash was a big reason why we did it, because she was the biggest thing. She just said, if it doesn't work out, you can always go back and sell real estate for somebody else. And I was like, what? We're 20, like at that point in time, I was 25 years old. So, 26 when we launched the business, or 25 when we launched the business. But at the start of it, what it looked like was, I remember I downloaded an app called Canva, which everyone would be really, interested in. And I was trying to design an idea for my name. And, I named a few of them, like I think we were going to go with Wolf Property for a little bit there. And I thought that was too gimmicky. And, and then we just jumped on Canva and I was playing around with it. I did Eastell and Co. And it was so funny because the design I did up looked like Tiffany and Co. And I was kind of like, no, that's a bit sassy for me. So it was kind of nice because I sort of went to the team at UrbanX and, I sort of said to them, hey, this is what I'm going to name it. This is some inspiration. This is some brands that I like. And, we went far afield to find those brands. And, I kind of said to them, this is the name, this is the style, this is what we want to be known for, and this is how we want to do business. And then, I didn't actually know what to do from there. I sort of spent the next 2 weeks just going through the motions. And I remember I got a call from Sophie, who's the general manager, and she said, hey, we're ready to present you with the concept. Can you come to Brisbane, say, next week? And I remember went down there and, I literally, Ash, myself, Sophie and Dan were sitting in the boardroom and we were looking at all the designs, and, there was 4 fantastic concepts. And, it was actually weird because I've chosen a different concept, but Ash, Dan and Sophie sort of named the one. And the more I looked at it, I thought that's exactly it. So it was kind of nice because we didn't really know what to do. But we sort of went with them with a concept, and they delivered on what Eastell and Co. is today.
So first comes the logo, then what happens, Dan? Like once you've got a logo, what's next?
Yeah, well, the logo is the visual element of any business, but then it's what it stands for, and it's building out the full brand. And every agent and business owner builds out their own brand. We've got a saying that your brand is not your branding. Your branding is the visual element, but it's actually now starting to define your brand, and your brand is what you want to be known for. Your brand is what you specialize in. Your brand is what people say about you. And so it's really just getting clear on that and sort of taking people on that journey of being able to very clearly articulate who they are and what they do. And then the beautiful thing about that is once you do work for yourself and you do have your own personal brand, which, you would know I talk about a lot, you have the ability to then market yourself as extensively as you want to. And so it's sort of helping guys like Clinton who are stepping into business to be able to market themselves. And obviously, we do all of that. Outside of that, there's, I don't know, let's call it the boring stuff. There's getting all of the forms set up, all of the back end set up, a realestate.com subscription set up, your sort of CRM and RP data and all those kind of, things set up, building a website. But, we take care of all of those. This isn't an ad, but just to answer your question, we sort of get that done in 6 weeks. When I went out on my own back in 2011, it took me 6 months. So we're pretty proud of the fact that we do in 6 months work in 6 weeks, but we've got a sort of dedicated in-house team that do it all. But yeah, essentially, after we've got the go-ahead from someone like Clinton, it's 6 weeks later, there's branding done, brand is defined, website collateral is all built, back end is built, and it's time to launch. And I mean, Clinton launched, while we're doing our part of it, there's not a lot, that an agent that we work with needs to do. And so I remember saying to Clinton, while we're doing this, your, challenge and focus now is go and get as many listings as you can. And Clinton will probably be very happy to talk about, how he launched, but it was one of the most incredible launches we've ever seen. And his success has never stopped from that day, despite COVID. It's never stopped from that day.
So how did you launch, Clinton? What was involved in all of that?
A lot of hard work. Like I think, I'm very fortunate to be working within a community that supports us incredibly well. I love our community, and we have quite a good following because we care for these people, and there's a lot of them. So it was kind of more so just spreading the word to say, hey, like what you guys love about what we're doing, we're just amplifying that. I had a personal goal that I wanted to launch the business with 15 listings. I think we launched with 22 or something like that. And it was just because people saw that, hey, it's really hard. My area, for example, the second youngest agent at that time was, 47 or something like that. So it's very, very hard when you've got all your agents in one community that are, have been doing it for a long time and they're established and they're experienced. And, you got this 25-year-old upstart who, is working his backside off, but, doesn't necessarily have the life experience that these other people do. So, for me, it was just spreading the word to say, hey, like if you will back me, like I want you to back me because I've backed myself. And I think, it was nice to be able to launch like that, but I think we just knuckled down. We said, okay, well, whatever we're doing, let's double our efforts. It kind of just really worked out well for us.
How many hours a day do you reckon you were working in the beginning?
Like the very beginning?
Yeah.
It's interesting you actually asked that because I'm going through this process with our team now, and we've grown in the last 18 months to we've got 10 people within our office, which is it's grown exponentially, and I'm talking to them at the moment with regard to you don't get to where I am today by doing what I'm doing today. You get to where I am today by doing what I'm reaping the rewards now of what I was doing 7 years ago. And Tom Penner said something recently, which I thought was really interesting. You want to build an ELF business, and that's an endless listing fund, or, I can't remember the terminology of it, but it's the work you did back then is the work you get paid for today. And look, I was working a lot of hours. I was very, very fortunate to have the support of my fiance, and she was working really diligently with me. I think one thing I've learned over my career is how to probably more so work smarter than harder, because you can put as many hours in the day. You can put 24 hours in the day to business, but if you're not doing them effectively or smart, then you may as well just go back to doing 4 or 5.
So what are some tips for working smarter, not harder, for other people that might be listening?
Just knowing exactly what you got to do every day. And I'm talking to my associate about this at the moment. He's fresh into the industry, and it's something that I know, but I don't deliver too well in teachings. But it's just being in control of your diary, knowing exactly what you're doing at any point in time, and also respecting the fact that if you need a day off, take a day off. I'm currently on the Gold Coast now. I've just taken 3 days off because I needed to just refocus on what I needed to do and what I needed to achieve. And I wasn't providing any value to our team by sitting in the office, not doing what I was meant to be doing. So I think ultimately just controlling your diary, putting time away for certain things. I think prospecting really well. My biggest thing is I think in this industry, you've got 2 types of businesses that you run. You either run a catch and kill business, or you run a relationship-based business. And catch and kill businesses if you want to make short-term money, and relationship-type businesses if you want to, run a really long and efficient, real estate business. So, I really love the fact that I don't have commission breath when I'm talking to people. I just want to know them. I want to get an understanding as to exactly what they want to do. And look, if they don't want to sell now, if they want to sell in 10 years' time, for me it doesn't bother me. The only difference is I'm going to have 10 years left more of my life, but I'm still going to have the same hunger that I've got today.
You recently moved into a new office in Coolum. How did that feel?
It was always my dream. And obviously I know that it's interesting because Dan and I talk about this quite regularly, and Dan has his views on things, and I respect those views. And but that was always a dream and a goal of mine. I felt like we were selling the dream of Coolum or the Sunshine Coast, but and selling our community, but I felt like we weren't entrenched into it. And I definitely agree with Dan in the sense that I don't believe that shopfronts do anything for a business. That's just my personal view, and I know that Dan does it. For us, it was about the space and the location. We are in the heart of our core community, and it was actually really refreshing. Like to see everything that we've been able to achieve in the last 18 months with the support of Dan and the crew over at UrbanX, like, it's just been really nice to see that, things have been ticked off the list as we do it.
You started your own business from nothing. We've moved into a new office. You've got 9 people, I think you said, in the team now.
Yep.
How many properties have you sold in the last 12 months? Like, how many listings are you carrying at once now?
We sort of operate a little bit differently. Like, I'm not of the opinion that you list property to list it. Like, anyone can do that. Like, like at the moment we're carrying 9 listings, with 6 of those under contract. The other 3 will go under contract this week, and then we've got another. Like, I think we've got 6 properties coming to the market next week, and it's kind of good because we get to control what comes in the market at one point in time based on what the market needs. I think as a team between the 3 of us, we've got 9 listings at the moment, and we've got a few more coming on next week.
And how does UrbanX support you in the actual transaction?
I don't think it's only the transaction. Like, everyone thinks too quite small about what UrbanX do. Like, there's a lot of stuff that everyone externally will just not even see. Like what they actually let me do in the transaction is, they let me not worry about payroll. They let me not worry about training. They let me not worry about, all the things that running a business gives you headaches about. And don't get me wrong, whether you're an UrbanX agent or an agent with somebody else, I don't think it matters. You're always going to have headaches, but they just allow us to focus on talking to buyers, talking to vendors, and selling the property for the most we possibly can. They process all the listings. We just flick them an email saying, "Hey, can I get a listing authority for this property?" When a contract, when that listing's signed, we just send it to them, and they process that listing authority, and send it out to all parties. Same thing on the sales side. They just allow us, what we're doing on the field. They make sure that we're doing all the right things off the field inadvertently by taking that away from us.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does your typical day look like at the moment?
At the moment, today?
Except when you're not in the Gold Coast.
Yeah. Normal. Look, to be fair, I think if you look at it a broader week, I think for me, it's just, again, talking to all your clients. Like I run a pretty, like my team at the moment are looking at me going, "Mate, how is real estate so easy?" And I'm like, it's not always easy. It's just the fact that I don't call people to talk about real estate. I talk to them about their lives and what they're up to and where they're up to in their goals and their plans. And look, everyone's different. Some people might pick up the phone and say, "Hey, it's so-and-so from one real estate agency. Just want to, this one just sold. Would you think about selling?" Like, I don't think I've ever made one of those phone calls. Mine's more of a, "Hey, Jill, it's Clinton. Mate, how's the family? I saw you down at the coffee shop the other day." Just talking to them about things that I've spoken to in the past. And I think that's a benefit of working in a tight-knit community like we do have, is we're not in a big city, and, that's obviously just us. But on a day-to-day, it's basically just connecting with clients, just talking to people in our database, talking to our vendors, communicating with good quality buyers that are qualified, ready to buy, and then really just enjoying our days, to be honest.
You seem pretty disciplined. I mean, Dan, I think Clinton seems pretty disciplined with what he does.
You know what Clinton is? Clinton is hungry. He's disciplined, and whether or not hunger breeds discipline, whichever way you want to look at it. But Clinton is a very driven, hungry guy. And one thing I didn't say when you asked me before is that's what I picked up when we first met and when we first spoke. Clinton's got big goals in life and he's going to hit them. And I think that's where that discipline comes from.
Yeah, it sort of seems that Clinton's very consistent too in what he does. And I guess if you can be consistent and be accountable to yourself, then going into business for yourself's probably a pretty good move, because you know that you can do that stuff. Just wondering, because UrbanX has been around for a while, is there a type of person, Dan, that you've noticed is suited to going out on their own, and a type of person that perhaps isn't?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm reading a book at the moment It's written by a SAS soldier, and in this book, he has this quote that really resonated with me, and it answers your question. He said, "You can't be what you can't see," and I think that, people that go into business inherently they've got goals, they've got something that they want to achieve in life. Like Clinton's got goals in his life that he wants to achieve, and he sees business as the best vehicle for it. I was exactly the same. And I think everyone that we work with that really makes a huge success of working for themselves, they've got that. They're self-motivated. They know what they want in life. They probably feel a little bit of agitation around, what's my career progression? I know how to list. I know how to sell. Why am I sort of still here? Maybe they want their name on the door. Maybe it's more money in their pocket and sort of not giving so much away. It's obviously a big part of working for yourself, So I think, that's who it works really well for, an experienced agent that's established in an area that wants to do something different. And I love, Clinton has talked about, building relationships. He's talked about a long-term view. And I think that's his brand. That's Clinton's brand. He's a relationship guy, and he gets to know everyone in his area. They know him. He doesn't have to really talk about real estate, but when they want to talk about real estate, they know that's what he does. And that's going to be his legacy. So you talked about legacy. Well, I think that's going to be part of his legacy. Who's it not for? Great question. It's not for a lot of people. It's not for new agents. You can't go straight to university. You got to go to primary school, and then you got to go to high school, and then you got to go to, so it's not for new agents. Clinton spoke about, everything he learns at two large franchise groups, and he owes them a lot. And that's just normal, right? So it's certainly not for new agents or agents that are unestablished. Samantha, in my experience, and we'll be 2 years in a month on this journey of UrbanX, there's like a level. It's not just about GCI, but like until an agent is writing at least $250,000 a year in fees, I just don't think it really works. So, that would be like the bare minimum where I think, you're big enough in an area. There's enough business where it sort of really warrants it. I guess they talk about that with, self-managed super funds. Until it's at a certain size, it's just not worth it. I think that's what it is for going out in business. And you've got to be self-motivated, like no one's going to come in. You work for yourself, Samantha. No one's going to come and, check your numbers every day and have your major calls and all that kind of stuff. You've got to be self-driven and self-motivated. You've got to want to achieve something in life. So, that's probably who it's for.
I actually think that's like, if you ask me what my biggest asset is, I think that, I'm very self-aware, but I think my biggest asset's also sometimes my biggest downfall. And that is that and I'm going through this process on the Gold Coast. I've met with a few agents today just to sort of self-check or reality check myself against other people. And, my biggest thing is I feel like at the moment I'm so far off, but then when I think about where I am, I'm actually so not off at all. But, I heard Matt Lancashire say one day, give yourself a good rating, like give yourself a rating out of 100. And I feel like I'm at the position where I'm so hard on myself that I feel like if I was to rate myself at 100, like I'd probably say I'm probably 16, because I'm nowhere. Like everyone I know I've had this a lot lately where everyone goes, "You're massive, you're so successful," and I'm like, mate, like successful to who? Like for me, like I look at it going, you think I'm successful, but I'm sitting here going, I'm nowhere near Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. It'd be nice, but. Like I'm not really successful when you think about the whole, the long game. And, success to me looks very different than what everyone else is. Success to me is being able to be in a position that I can influence certain things within our community, that people look at us and go, okay, well, what he says, that can help me get somewhere. But I'm incredibly hard on myself. I know a lot of people in this industry are as well. So.
I feel like you're harder on yourself than you need to be.
Oh, I definitely
you should be a bit nicer.
I definitely am, and I probably need to show myself, or have a bit of appreciation, but like for myself. But I've always come from, like Dan said, I'm incredibly hungry. Like I came from nothing monetary wise when I was growing up, but I came from everything morally, and I wouldn't change a thing. But as I said, I'm nowhere near where I feel like I need to be, or I feel like our community needs me to be, or someone like me to be. You know what I mean?
So fast forward into the future, what does success look like for you?
Changing other people's lives around me. Like, I want to be in a position, like they always say, you are a byproduct of the 5 people you're around. I want to be like a radiation plant. I want to affect 100 people around me. I want to see, kids that are struggling at our primary school or high school. I want to be in a position where I can go, hey, here's something that's going to be able to help you. I want to, and whether that's real estate, whether that's rugby league or sport or academic or music playing, whatever that is, I want to see the Sunshine Coast not put on the map in Australia, but I want to talk about globally. Like, I want, like, we've got a guy that comes from our community, Julian Wilson, who's just come back from Tokyo in the Olympics. And mate, I look at the way that our community looks at him as, in his standing within the community. I want more of that coming out of our community. And I'm not only talking about Coolum, I'm talking about the Sunshine Coast as a whole. So for me, success looks like influence. If I can influence other people's life for change, because in my life, I've had people that have come into my life and saved I said to Dan last night, if there was a certain number of people that didn't come into my life when I was growing up, I have great fears for where I would be today. So if I can be that into somebody else, then that to me is success. And there's no dollar figure on that. I think it's, how you influence other people around you. That's what success looks like to me.
And Dan, how can UrbanX support Clinton in what he considers his definition of success?
I think everyone's on their own journey, Samantha. What we can do is make business substantially easier. UrbanX started to solve a problem, which is how do you make business easier? I was a real estate agent. I got out of it, got out of working for an agency because I was sick of giving away, so much of my fees, no control over the direction of the business. Went out on my own and it was amazing. But then there's like another 100 things you've got to manage, and that caused enormous personal kind of damage in my life. And so we made UrbanX to make the best of both worlds, work for yourself, but not by yourself. And so, we wrap a lot of support around Clinton. We try and take care of as much in his business as we can. You can actually do an enormous amount in a business without being on site. We're in Brisbane, but we operate from, Northern Territory to Melbourne. Clinton's on the Sunshine Coast. But there's a lot that, we sort of take care of to really free him up to continue building his business in the way he wants to build his business and live his life in the way he wants to live his life. For me, when I worked for myself, you'd work all day listing and selling, and then you'd come home and you'd be like doing the books and you'd be managing trust accounts and dealing with staff issues and stuff like that. And, that was sort of from 6 till 10 p.m. every day. Our goal is to ensure that no one that we work with has to go through that, because everything gets looked after for them in the background. On a personal level, Clinton's a very good friend of mine now, and I really can't talk to him enough to be honest. I like, I'm not old, I'm only 38, but I like him being able to impart anything that I've learned in life and sort of help others. Again, resonate with a lot of what Clinton just said previously. And so, we've got, I think, the other answer to your question is that when we developed UrbanX, we sort of knew we could do admin and accounts and branding and marketing and software and IT and a whole range of things. But what we didn't really realize, it just formed naturally, was community. And that was kind of like the surprise that came out of building UrbanX, was the community. And so, there's about 91 agents in that community already. And I love the conversations that happen. I know Clinton, has developed relationships with a lot of people within that community, and many with Clinton as well. And so, it's just being able to talk to other people, cross-check, like Clinton was just saying. And yes, you are right, not be too hard on yourself.
Absolutely. Well, guys, it's been great catching up with you today, and thanks very much for sharing a bit of your journey, particularly Clinton, because I know it's probably going to help some people out there who are, on the fence about going into their own business. If there was one takeaway or one piece of advice you could leave everyone with, what would it be? I'll start with Clinton.
For mine, it's develop an unwavering belief in yourself. Like for me, like I had 1% of me that said to myself that if it doesn't work out, you can just go work for somebody else. But I know Dan and I've talked about this. I struggle to understand how people don't have unwavering beliefs in themselves, especially in this industry. So I would say it's yours. Enjoy the journey, and just believe in yourself. Have a crack. You've only got one life, so.
Good advice. And Dan?
Oh, Clinton really stuffed me up there right at the end with the last few words, because my advice was going to be we only get one life. So thanks for that, Clinton. But that might sound philosophical, but we do just get one life. We're going to orbit the sun a certain number of times in our lifetime, and it's not about life short and things like that. Although you do talk to older people, and they always sort of talk about what they regret not doing rather than the mistakes that they made. We get one life. What do you want? Define that. You're in charge of it. We live in an incredible country. We have an incredible opportunity, and sort of don't live your life at 50%. I mean, unless you want to, and that's fine if you do. But if you've got big goals in life, if you've got aspirations in life, don't let anything hold you back, and really go for it.
Good advice. Dan, Clinton, thank you so much.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Elevate podcast, with thanks to connectnow.com.au. Don't forget to get access to all of Elite Agent's premium resources, including a detailed episode guide for this podcast. Visit joineliteagent.com.